Unknown to people like you, there is a huge shift going on, and it's all happening under the surface. That's a major problem. That's the first point. The second point is, and this is really important, you were talking about freedom of association earlier. Freedom of association is no longer allowed. We don't have the option of freely associating with the people that we want to associate with. Why? Because of hashtag diversity. We are having diverse populations being forced on us, and we cannot push back on that. What I think you fail to understand is that the demographic situation is changing, and we are not voting for it, and we do not have the ability to resist it just yet, not legally. The problem is that there will come a time, I am convinced of this, there will come a time when there will be extra legal, extra judicial pushback. I want you to read between the lines, and this is not me saying that things that I want to do. I'm talking about the general population. I'm talking about group dynamics. Sooner or later, people are going to reach a state of mind in which it is no longer permissible to simply go business as usual and operate within laws and rules that are being forced on them by traders and by tyrants. That's going to happen, and I don't think you understand that.
Irony is that most of the stores that were destroyed during the riots were owned by black people.
That's stupid, though. I mean, why trash your own neighborhood?
Well, that's my point. It's an irrational act. It's like an expression of rage by people who feel neglected and turned away by the system.
Exactly. I mean, it's like we had in Watts or the riots in Chicago in '68.
That's crap. I don't buy that for a minute. Calling a riot an irrational expression of rage, that's such a cop-out. It's opportunism at its worst. It's a bunch of people grabbing any excuse they can find to go and loot a store, nothing more. You know, the fact that these people ripped off the stores in their own communities, all that reflects is the degree to which these people have absolutely no respect for the law at all, and certainly no concept of, like, community or civic responsibility.
Well, wait a minute. White people commit crimes against white people, too.
Yeah, but they're not offing each other in record numbers all over America. Look at the statistics, for Christ's sakes. It's 1 in every 3 black males is in some phase of the correctional system. Is that a coincidence, or do these people have, you know, like a racial commitment to crime?
Not only that, they're proud of it.
Well, maybe it says something about prejudice in the judicial system.
Yeah, if you want to talk about criminal statistics, you might want to take a look at the social inequalities that produce them.
Yap. You know what? That's exactly what I hate. Because what you're doing, Davina, is taking one thing and calling it something else and just, you know, alleviating the responsibility that these people have for their own actions. You know, it's like saying, it's not a riot, it's rage. It's not crime, it's poverty. It's just nonsense. You know, it's exactly what happened in this trial, too, because the media twisted things around so people got all focused on, you know, these cops and whether or not they were going to get convicted and whether Rodney King's civil rights had been violated. I mean, everybody lost sight of old Rodney King himself. I mean, the guy's a multiple felon. By his own admission, he's high as a goddamn kite, driving 120 miles an hour down the highway. He gets pulled over by a bunch of cops, and he attacks them. He attacked police officers. That's the bottom line. And he walked.
Yeah, and there's some yahoo there with a video camera who turned it on halfway through, so that all we see is them hitting him.
Exactly. You know, you got Powell and Kuhn winding up and cracking him with billy clubs, and Bersenio kicking him in the back of the skull, so it looks severe, you know? And people are going, oh, this poor guy who attacked 4 cops, and those cops end up on the stand defending themselves for using absolutely standard textbook self-defense procedures.
I don't think that the tape showed that at all.
Oh, you didn't think so, huh? And what, you're an authority, Ma?
Murray, what do you think?
Well, I did think that the police used their clubs rather excessively.
Who are you to say what's excessive? I think it was totally appropriate. I think they're in a better position to make that judgment call than you are. In fact, we as society grant cops a certain amount of authority to make those calls because we acknowledge that their job is difficult and dangerous. You know, unfortunately, very few people respect that authority.
Look who's talking about respect here, Mr. Junior KKK.
What?
Davina.
What? You know what? You want to go to college, Davina? You should learn to listen.
Derek.
Okay? And say I respect
Derek.
the laws. I acknowledge a cop's authority. I don't respect any laws that let monkeys like Rodney King back on the street. Second of all, I am not, as you well know, a member of a low-rent, disorganized bunch of rednecks like the KKK. Please. So
Totally.
take your head out of your ass. I mean, you've gotten off the point. I had a point. That wasn't even the point.
Do you have one? What is your point, Derek?
All right, think about this. Think about this. If Danny had been walking across the street that night and Rodney King had plowed into him...
Can we just drop this Rodney King thing?
Mm-hmm.
who would like some dessert?
We're having a discussion.
We're having a nice discussion, right? If Rodney King had been driving along, hopped up on Chivas Regal and PCP and had killed Danny, you'd be singing a very
I
different
didn't
tune about the
see him hit
Force Cup.
anybody in the tapes, and neither did you.
He didn't happen to kill anybody, thank
Put
God.
it down, okay? Allie's sleeping.
If he had, though, I mean, come on, think about it. If that monkey had run some kid over, everybody would have a very different opinion of this whole matter. You know, they'd be focused on Rodney King and not on these officers, but instead, he just attacked a few cops. And so all of a sudden, it's hands across America for this total son of a bitch. I mean, it blows my mind. We're so hung up on this notion that we have some obligation to help this struggling black man, you know, cut him some slack until he can overcome these historical injustices. It's crap. This stuff you guys are saying just perpetuates it. All this liberal nonsense, you know, everyone's turning and looking the other way while our country rots from the inside out. I mean, Christ, Lincoln freed the slaves, what, like 130 years ago? How long does it take to get your act together?
Well, Jews have been persecuted for over 5,000 years. Are you saying that it's wrong to feel sensitive about anti-Semitism?
We need to open our eyes. There's over 2 million illegal immigrants bedding down in this state tonight. This state spent $3 billion last year on services for those people who had no right to be here in the first place. $3 billion. $400 million just to lock up a bunch of illegal immigrant criminals who only got into this country because the INS decided it's not worth the effort to screen for convicted felons. Our border policy is a joke. So is anybody surprised that south of the border they're laughing at us? Laughing at our laws?
Yeah.
Every night, thousands of these parasites stream across the border like some pinata exploded. Don't laugh! There's nothing funny going on here. This is about your life and mine. It's about decent, hard-working Americans falling through the cracks and getting the shaft because their government cares more about the constitutional rights of a bunch of people who aren't even citizens of this country. On the Statue of Liberty, it says, give me you're tired, you're hungry, you're poor. Well, it's Americans who are tired and hungry and poor. Because we're losing. We're losing our right to pursue our destiny. We're losing our freedom. And this isn't something that's going on far away. This isn't something that's happening places we can't do anything about it. It's happening right here, right in our neighborhood, right in that building behind you. Archie Miller ran that grocery store since we were kids here. Dave worked there, Mike worked there. He went under, and now some Korean owns it who fired these guys and is making a killing because he hired 40 border jumpers. I see this shit going on, and I don't see anybody doing anything about it.
Can't escape the choice I